might have done a different Divine Nugget on this some weeks ago. If any of you care to go look, feel free to go do it. Otherwise, I'm not going to take it that seriously because I know that these messages want to come through. And so why not let them repeat themselves a couple of times if that's what Spirit wants us to do? So I've been thinking about, there's a lot that's been going on in the collective, just lots of energy, masculine, feminine, all sorts of going in there of this. It's kind of a combination of releasing and letting go and holding on without waiting and faithfulness without expectation. And it's very much, it is fitting with some talks that I've been meaning to do and I've not quite done yet. Um, but where like endings meet beginnings and beginnings meet endings and things like that. And you start to see kind of an overlap in the cycles of things going on. And I was thinking about how can you articulate, how can you find the proper vocabulary to articulate the way out of the waiting game, the way out of runner chaser dynamics, the way out of lack and holding that which you want like outside of your vibration. Like, I mean, many of you are here for twin flame journey stuff. Like, the more you observe your twin flame not being present in your life, the more you hold them out of place as not being present in your life. Like, you, if you think about it a lot, that happens. It's the same, it works the same way as if you haven't had a job in a while and you're job hunting, and what you're focusing on is that you still don't have a job, or that you don't have the money, or that you need this or you need that. Then you manifest more of yourself not having a job, you know? Whereas if you picture yourself having the job that you want, doing the things that you want to do, things of that nature, you manifest more of that. The same thing is, you know, if you've got a person that you want in your life in a good way, then spend more of your time feeling like they're already there, feeling like you already have the feelings you feel you would have if they were standing right there in the 3D. And the more that you do that, the more that the universe brings it together to do that. Now, where the title comes in is a little bit trickier, so bear with me here. That which you resist persists. So I feel like, okay, it just feels relevant for this part, this message, to be more twin flamey-esque, even though divine nuggets are not specific to only twin flames. Um, for it seems when one is on in the divine feminine energy, in the still in pre-union or separation, we resist just being completely in love with ourselves without having like a 3D counterpart there to confirm and affirm us. Like, we, a lot of times we attach that we must have either the physical person or a physical person or something along those lines in order to feel like we are, how do I even put it, how to give ourselves permission to just love ourselves, to just be so in love with ourselves in all the same ways that we would when we were, I don't know, like first in love with our twin flames or our first romantic crush. Like, think about the beginnings of relationships and stuff, to have that feeling. That's what most people want. So the more that you resist learning how, you know, if when you're in divine feminine energy, whether you're typically the masculine, typically the feminine, whatever role, or both, I don't know, we're all both. So um, when you resist surrendering to just complete and total, like, love, I don't want to say love with yourself, there's another word for it, and it's like, it's funny because I get one image is you almost need to be narcissus, which, yes, that is where like the term narcissist comes out, but there's also, like, look into the studies of it. All human beings have narcissistic personality traits, and like the problem, like, to be actually narcissistic, you have to be lacking in empathy. there's only two ways to be lacking in empathy, really. One is a lack of experience, because if you don't have the experience and you don't have the material around you, or you don't have a lot of people confirming that experience, and you just don't have a place of empathy for it. And the other way is whatever they think is the chemical imbalance that would create someone. I think it's cluster A, cluster B. Like cluster B would be like personality disorder, and then cluster A would be like there's something missing in you to where you don't have the empathy. But in terms of just actual like narcissistic personality traits, you have to be able to feel good about yourself in order to not be in complete depression, and to get out of bed and to go have fun at your job or your business or things like that. Like, you have to have some amount of that. It's actually just self-esteem, but a lot of us get caught up in this feeling like, if we really just were in love with ourselves, if we just found ourselves adorable and delicious, that we would be conceited. And the funny thing is like, there are going to be people who think that, and it doesn't matter. Like, you got to see yourself as the narcissist looking in the mirror, who knows how many years he's spent, in self-doubt and worrying about what other people thought, and like being concerned about if anybody thought that him loving himself was some sort of bad sign or something like that. And he's staring in the mirror, loving himself, because he knows the truth, and he knows that he's the only one that needs to know that truth. And because he knows that, he's got people around him who do confirm it, and who are genuine, who aren't, they're a positive reflection of his self-love. And there's a lot I've noticed in terms of divine feminines who, and there's plenty of divine masculines too, but I feel like it's more in the divine feminine specific energy journey, to release the codependence, and to release that feeling of needing to have a 3D counterpart right there with you, to talk to cuddle with, to make decisions with, do things like that. And it's not necessary. And really, if you're on a twin flame journey, you know what, I'm going to say it, for my experience, that is what you signed up for. The twin flame journey is not, yes, there is epic romantic love in it, but that's not what the journey's about. It's just the route that you chose to get to that sort of enlightenment and self-worth, because you wanted that experience when you came in. But like, if you're looking to just have the nearest, healthiest 3D relationship where you can just feel fantastic, okay, that's fantastic. That's probably not going to be found on a twin flame journey. No, twin flame journeys aren't always and forever like screwed or anything, but part of it is a journey of healing your deepest wounds. And you're going to have to go through a lot of that stuff to have any healthy relationship anyways. But to what degree do you want to go about it, and that's the whole that which you resist persists thing in there also. Like, if you're afraid to go a day, a week, a month without, having regular communication with any specific person, or which it's funny, because I still feel the old parts of me that used to be like deathly afraid of that. So I'm not speaking from a place of like not understanding. Though the more that we resist those spaces in between, the more they persist. And you see a similar thing like on more the divine masculine journey, whether, I mean, we are all both, so whatever side you're in, this feels more attached to the masculine journey, is like resisting the love. Relisting. I don't know why that one came in, but resisting the affection for, like, genuine affection and appreciation for another person, especially because a lot of, um, it's just easier. A lot of guys on the divine masculine journey have been, they've had a lot of karmics that have really, like, every time they've tried to be vulnerable, they've gotten screwed in it somehow. And usually they run into their divine feminine when they're trying not to be vulnerable anymore. And then they end up getting vulnerable and they like it. And that's scarier than if they'd gotten hurt again, which is what they could have at least come to expect. And oftentimes then they get into sabotaging everything going on because they're afraid that that shoe will still drop at some point. You're just better at not doing it for as long. That's kind of the thing that comes into their minds. But whether pre-union or one of the separations. Typically, here's the funny thing. If you're a divine feminine watching this, this can help you get to what you need to stop resisting. And it's by recognizing that if somebody is like doing no communication or no contact or really weird communication or not sharing any feelings or oversharing feelings or giving you this image of living a happy life when you know they're miserable, all those things, that shows resistance. And that's actually really good because that which you resist persists. So if it's your DM or someone you think it's your DM, or even if your DM talking about a DF and they're resisting you, like you're seeing resistance in it, whether it's coming from third parties or not, teachers, visitors, things like that, instead of karmics, right? They it's good because that which they are resisting is persisting. And that means that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to see them. You don't have to try to guide them. You don't even really have to like pray about them or think about them all that much. As if you're not having like regular conversations with the person that you believe is your DM, or that has strong feelings for you and wants to connect with you, and you guys are not connecting, that's good because that shows that resistance, and that means that they are healing. And even if they give you some old story about, I'm so happy over here on my own or with so and so, or like I'm moving on doing all this, if they're doing that and you're not just having like comfortable conversations with them, and it just as friends or anything like that, that's resistance. And usually that resistance is because they have very big feelings and they find it hard to just be friends with you. And it's not actually anything that you're doing, but if you're doing your job in loving yourself, the more you begin to love yourself, the more irresistible you become. And as you start to relax and recognize that anyone resisting you is creating, they're keeping you in manifestation terms, like they're making sure that you don't go away. It's kind of a weird backwards thing, but like if they're resisting you, they're not going anywhere. And you don't have to do anything to make that happen. And therein becomes not the hard part, but the thing is like, I mean, you could effectively just keep like, you know, so, I mean, you can choose to do all sorts of things. You can choose to keep bugging them. You can choose to try not to talk to them to be a good girl or a good boy. You can try to find distractions, other third parties, soulmates, karmics. You can try to fight. You can try to be sweet. You can do all the things that you want to do. At some point, you're going to become aware enough and enlightened enough that Spirit is going to laugh at you and tell you that you did that all just for you, really. You didn't ever need to do any of that. And you're going to be shown through your community and your tribe and the readers and even your twin flame that you only ever had to just do what you love, like be yourself and do what you love the whole time. And that it's not about don't do this or do that. It's just what does your heart say to do? And a lot of times our journeys up and down through there to where we can finally release the resistance to the lack of communication or lack of relationship or lack of confessions or lack of, I don't even know, I'm just being dramatic at this point, just lack, right? When we can release our persistent resistance to it, to even being concerned in any way about any lack around us, then it stops persisting. I don't know what the opposite of persist. It ceases. That which we don't resist ceases, which doesn't rhyme, but it does have a nice ending to it. And when you get to that place where you are no longer in resistance, you are in receptive mode, receiving mode, allowing mode. You're no longer waiting. You're no longer denying. You're not in a space where you're like, I don't like them, I don't love them, I could do better, or oh my gosh, I love them and I'm dying without them. Why won't they talk to me? Just where were the days that the breadcrumbs were there? I do anything for that now. Like, I mean, the whole spectrum of it, you know? The When you're no longer in either of those places and you're just comfortable staring out into the universe, saying to the person, place, or thing that you really love that has so far not been in your 3D reality as much as you like, and just say, you know what, I love you as you are. And I am grateful for what I have around me. And I'm going to see what next great adventure I can get into. Because when I am in receptive mode to self love, then I am receptive to Spirit's love. And the more receptive I am to Spirit's love, the more receptive I am to inspired action. And the more inspired actions I take, the more friends I make. And the more signs and sinks I get through ways that I wouldn't have if I hadn't found the courage and been brave in those moments. And the more times I do that and prove to myself that I can do all of this, and that the more I believe in myself, the more attractive I am to everybody around me. And it neither, it never takes away when somebody isn't. And it only adds to that vibration. When you start to get that momentum, you see, I had it for a minute, and then, it goes in and out. But when you get that momentum of receptivity and gratitude and joy to all around you, that's when you get out of waiting mode. That's when you get out of resistance. And the things that you've been observing that have been persisting because you've been resisting them, they cease to persist. And again, example, job. When you stop focusing on not having a job, jobs will start appearing. When you apply for them and you are not concerned about whether or not you get it, that's most of the time when you get it. And same thing with twin flames or lovers of whatever kind, is when you're not in a state where you're like, I hate him, I don't want to talk to him. And you're not in a state of, you best come to me correct. And you're not in a state of, oh my gosh, why can't we talk about our feelings right now? And you're more in a state of, you know what? I have lots of memories and imaginings and fun that I can have, so I can feel all the feelings right now that I want to have when they are here, that I will have, that I am having right now. They are already here. When you can get to that space and genuinely feel like you're having fun just thinking about doing something as silly as that and actually creating the feeling, because the brain is that powerful and is that strong. You can do that. And when you can get there and you release all that resistance and all that observation of the lack of contact, the lack of connection, the lack of union, then you eliminate one half of the reason for separation, and you forever evolve out of needing that. And you, because you've observed it, you can catch yourself when you're in it the next time and the next time and the next time. And guess what? You become lighter each time you do that. And then each time you do that, your twin starts to feel it. And they start to stop resisting the things that they need to do, their work, getting out of third party situations, not over focusing on materialism, getting their parental game on, being a better pillar to the community. I don't know. Following their dreams and not over giving to everybody else around. Like they start to do that too. And as they become lighter from doing that, then the only thing left at that point is their resistance to your connection. And it's not something that was made, you know? It's not something, wasn't like a genuine connection with any person, but especially a twin flame, is not something that was just like somebody snapped their fingers one day and created a spell. It's not one of those, yeah, you had a nice few years with them and that was it. No, like there's a genuine, strong connection in there, and you are connected and you do reflect each other. And when you get back to your heart, where you feel in love with you in the ways that you used to feel in love with you when you thought you were in love with somebody else. Not that you weren't, but the truth is you were in love with the way that you felt when you were loving them. And when you get there, they start to reflect that. And the more they start to love themselves and they're able to see you loving on yourself, anyone around them that is not self loving, they're going to be very repellent. It's going to be like, ugh. And, once your twin recognizes that it's all choice to stay in low or high vibrations or in the middle or to create new vibrations. It's all by choice that then they start to really release resistance to their formerly persistent and failed effort to avoid the connection. And they'll put down the tools that they use to try to convince themselves they weren't worthy or you weren't worthy or people won't like it, because they'll recognize that if they like it, if they love it, then those who love them and are meant to be in this lifetime with them enjoying it, they will enjoy it, you know? Mm. Well, I'm not sure if this made as much sense as I'd hoped that it would, so let me know in the comments below if you'd like more clarity or if some of this was a little too airy-fairy. Still working on refining it all. Well, until I see you next, I will see you.